Have you ever needed to blur something out in a video before? Whether because you just choose not to show your face on camera, or maybe you're trying to hide some information in the background? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can achieve that using Davinci Resolve. Alright, and now that we're in Davinci Resolve, I've already picked my video, got it on my timeline, and before we start to create that mask for that blur effect, I'm just going to pick a point of reference where my face is at its largest point, and it's right about here. If you need to zoom in or zoom out, you can use your scroll wheel on your mouse, and if you need to just kind of move this scene in general, you can hold down the middle mouse button. So now right here, this is a good point of reference. And when I create this mask, I'm going to ask Davinci Resolve to work backwards. And the reason why is it makes it a little bit easier on my part when it comes to making those adjustments to keep that mask consistent. And you'll see here in just a second. Okay, so now what we can do is make sure that our clip is highlighted and then come down to the color page. Now inside the color page, the first thing you need to do is come up and enable the nodes. If this window is too small or too large, you can just drag it as you need to. The next thing we need to do now is find our power window. And your power window icon is going to be right down here in the middle of your screen. If you don't have this on your end, you can come over here to the left-hand portion of the window and click on the drop-down menu and click on power window. So in your power window pane, you actually have quite a few different objects. You have a linear object, circle object, polygon, curve, and gradient. And what I'm going to use is the circle just because it closely resembles the shape of a face. So initially, we're going to create the mask. I'm going to put that directly over my face. Downscale it a little bit here. And I'm just going to conform this. Look somewhat realistic to the shape of my face. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Bring in the feathering a little bit. And so now we have our object. So now what we need to do is apply the blur. So we'll come back down to the middle, click on the blur pane, over to radius. And you're going to click, and you're just going to drag it up. And as you can see, we're already blurred out my face. So now that we have our blur, we now have to start a tracking phase. So come back down here, and to the left of your blur pane is going to be your tracking pane. And when you're trying to track an object in a video clip, you're going to want to make sure that clip is selected. Make sure perspective 3D is unchecked. And then here's the magic button, your track forward and track reverse. Davinci Resolve is going to work its way and try to maintain consistency with the mask object we just applied. This is what it looks like. And as you can see, it did a fairly decent job of keeping the consistency. But we do have to go back and make some fine-tuning to make sure it looks a little bit better. And to do that, we need to come back down here, and instead of being on clip, we need to click on frame. So take note that we do have a keyframe indicator right here, and I'd like you to pay attention to extra keyframes that pop up on the timeline as I make adjustments to this mask. So we'll zoom in. Good point of reference. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to start to go backwards. So I'm going to just click and drag frame by frame and make adjustments as I need to. So far, not too terrible. Consistent. Probably make one little adjustment here. And notice how it automatically added a keyframe. Going. Okay, so now that we spent a little bit of time making those adjustments to keep the mask a little more consistent, this is what it looks like. Now, what if we did the same blur effect, but this time using this particular composition? I'm not very far from the camera, so masking and maintaining consistency, regardless if I'm swaying one direction or the other, should be fairly easy and should not require any fine-tuning at all. But let's go ahead and show you how to apply that same effect again, but using this particular composition. Make sure your clip is highlighted, color, over to your power window, select your object. You can form that to fit the shape of your face as best as you can. Over to your blur tab, drag it all the way up. And you can tell we kind of have a slight issue. There's not enough blur to fully mask out my face. So we can easily fix that by coming up to the Effects tab. And I'm going to apply a mosaic blur. I'm going to drop it on top of my node. I'm just going to play with the aliasing and the pixel frequency. And now you can see my face is completely blurred out. Now remember, we have to come and do the tracking. So back down to tracking. You're on clip. Check perspective 3D. Now for the magic, track forward and as DaVinci works its magic, pay attention to see if any adjustments need to be made. So far it doesn't look like it, but let's go back and double check. So what I'll do is I'll click on frame and I'm just going to drag the keyframe indicator all the way through the clip. Look to see if I have to make any adjustments. Now, if you're a perfectionist like me, you'll spend a lot of time in this area, but if you're just looking for a general blur, don't. But so far, it looks like DaVinci did a great job maintaining that consistency. I think I'm quite happy. Now we go back to edit. I want to review the clip, how it looks. More than adequate for trying to blur out someone's face. And that's it. That's how you use the blur effect within DaVinci Resolve. If you like today's video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And until then, I'll catch y'all next time.